Hello.
Say something. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. If you would like me to, I'd be more than happy to. Okay. Calling the, I got lots of them.
Yeah.
I'm calling the meeting to order, and we're gonna, adjourn for an executive session. Yeah,
There you go.
did I do good?
Good. Excellent.
fast, but not fast enough. Now, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm going to give you a summary from the executive session that we just had. It'll just be a summary. There were several things that we talked about. One of them is working through the issues with the former property manager as far as vacation time. And we've come to some conclusions about that, but we still are looking at our legal support for that. The other thing that we covered was we have a vacant position on the board, and we are going to fill that position tonight. The third thing we had was we did not have a board secretary because I was the board secretary before, and we're going to fill that position tonight. Also, we have a new position, which is the property maintenance supervisor. And we discussed that position and how we're going to fill that. And then we also talked about the fact that, I don't know if you all know that Grace, who was the person in charge of signing people up for tennis, resigned. So we don't have a person for that, but we talked about how we will fill that position. We just need to get some clarification about that, what was involved with that. So that was the executive session. The next thing that we are going to talk about is I need to make an announcement that, and some of you probably already know this, Barbara Gaines resigned from the board on the 5th of September. So she is no longer on the board. Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to fill the vacant board position. I'm sorry. We're filling Barbara's position. Anybody give it a motion?
Can make a motion to fill the current vacant position with Rose Perry as the
Okay.
Mike.
The motion is that Mark has made is that we fill the position that was vacated by Barbara with Rolf, who was on the board before. Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, so Rolf, you want to join us up here? Welcome. Okay, the next thing is we're going to vote on the secretary. Could I have a motion for the position of filling the position of secretary on the board? Okay, the motion's been made that April become the secretary for the board. Is there a second? Everybody want to vote? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so April's going to be our new secretary for the board. Okay. The next thing is to, we need to make a motion to approve the people who are in their positions now. Joy is in the position of the association property manager. Brandy is in the position of the office manager. And we need to go ahead and approve that. Can I get a motion to approve that? Okay. Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so Joy is the association property manager and Brandy is the office manager. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is approve our minutes from the previous meeting. Does anybody have any comments about the minutes from the previous meeting? Okay, can I get a motion to approve those minutes for September 9th? Okay, is there a second? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so approved. You want to come up here?
No, I'm staying right here and talk to y'all. Most of y'all know me. But if anybody's on Zoom that doesn't know me, I'm Joy. I've been here 12 years and as the office manager. I'm transitioning into that position. I've hired Brandy. This is our new office manager. You'll hear from her. I sent out her email. So she'll be kind of doing everything. You're getting insurance payments and all that. She'll be taking those from y'all now. Nobody needs to hear, it's okay. Yeah, let's see, what else was I gonna tell y'all? I do want to say thank you though for being patient with us as we transition. Things got really behind when it was just me by myself trying to do things. So we're playing catch up. We're getting caught up. Things are getting better. We're getting things reorganized and restructured. So bear with us while we're going through that. And thank everybody for your patience through that. So then our accounts that are 90 days in arrears or more, homeowners arrears are $13,291.21. This represents 2 homeowners. The first account's being handled by our attorney's office. The second homeowner has paid in full. The marina arrears is $10,275. This homeowner, or this represents 5 members. One of those is the one that has 3 slips out there. We have received a payment of $500 from one of the marina members that was in arrears. The other one was supposed to be in today. I'm assuming hopefully tomorrow he'll come in and he'll pay in full. The other 4 boats that are out there, I think, have been abandoned and walked away from. So we'll have to determine what we're going to do with those. They're probably going to end up needing to be removed at Bal Harbour's cost.
Okay.
Before we end up with them sitting on the bottom. And then as far as maintenance requests, we had approximately 42 work orders that were either called in or emailed during the month of September. Oh, she's got a slide for me. 10 of those were common property items like signage, lights, common area, restrooms, landscape timbers, tennis court nets, holes in the common ground. 9 of those were gutter, either repairs and or cleaning of gutters. Then we had 4 that were painting, things that were like garage doors that needed to be painted or touch-up painting, different things like that. We had ones that was a screen repair. We had 6 leaks that were non-roof leaks. Those would be things like siding, different that would cause a leak into the house. We did have 2 roof leaks. We also had 1 chimney that needed to be repaired. We had 5 rotten wood work orders called in, and then 3 landscape requests that were called in. Other than that, that's all I have for y'all this time.
Thank you. Okay. The first thing is a generator request at 18109 Sandy Cove. And the request is to install a 26 kilowatt generator on a 3-foot tall platform to be installed on the lower deck next to existing AC units. This has already been completed. So the committee, Ernie Collins, has graciously agreed to serve with me. So now I can say the committee. And we're welcoming more committee people. It helps. Anyway, the Bal Harbour guidelines for standby electric generators, and this is just good for all of us to know, they're based on the Texas Property Code, so it's not something we just made up. And several points needed to be addressed with that particular request. One was the generator needs to be installed to manufacturer specifications. That was not addressed. And then installed in compliance with governmental health, safety, and electrical codes. And thirdly, all electrical, plumbing, and fuel line connections are installed only by licensed contractors. So there were several things that we had discussed with the homeowner. And we asked that he have an authorized representative come and look at the placement of and hookup of the generator that's there. And so he was very gracious about having somebody come out, and I wanted to just read you part of the report. You have a copy, I believe. Yes. After reviewing the site, it is my recommendation that the generator and stand be moved approximately 3 feet to the north of its current location. And this will take it out from under a deck where it only had 30 inches clearance. And this being north of that location, the deck is 2 feet higher. And by lowering the height of the stand slightly, it will be maintaining a recommended 5 feet of clearance above the generator. In this location, the generator will also have to be rotated 180 degrees so that the exhaust will be pointed away from the sliding glass door. In this configuration, it will be very difficult to screen the generator from view to the north and east, as the generator access panel will be located to the north and exhaust will be to the east, where you would not want exhaust blowing directly into the screening material. This location will allow for sufficient ventilation of the generator exhaust away from the house and any entries to windows, doors or windows. I've confirmed with Generac that this meets their installation guidelines as well.
I've also inspected the plumbing and electrical and find that it meets the workmanship standards required and was performed or informed by the homeowner that the gas line was tested to 120 PSI for 24 hours, which far exceeds the gas line pressure. And this was respectfully submitted by Philip Renew, who is an authorized Generac sales and installation. So that being said, the committee and I went back. The relocation of the generator will now be in compliance with our required guidelines and the Texas Property Code. The neighbors on both sides have been contacted about the new location, and they are okay with that. So the Architectural Committee recommends approval as modified. And the modifications are noted on what I read and are attached now to the document.
Okay. So you all are recommending with the adjustments that were made?
Yes, with the modification, we felt like the requirements had been met.
Okay.
And it was no longer a safety issue. That was a big deal.
Do you all have any questions about the,
So it was already done and now is it already redone?
No,
Okay,
no.
okay.
Oh, the one thing I forgot to mention, and looking at you reminded me, that I'm only, because with the screening, the screening part of it where is not going to be closed off. And so I remembered that one of our other residents here has put large plants, and that is one of the things that's in our guidelines, that you can, camouflage it with a large plant. And so I talked to the homeowner and he said he'd be willing to do that. So, sorry.
Okay, so then when will we?
So when this is, right, when this is approved, then it will be moved.
any other questions?
I don't know.
What'd you
That's
say?
what I always say when people go ahead and do it.
Oh,
So I'm just curious, I mean, what's done is done, but.
And we'll-
Make
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So do you all want to? Nobody has any other questions? Are you all prepared to vote on this? Or would,
Accept, or accept the approval with modification. That they're going to change it to, right?
okay. Is there a second? All of those in favor? Opposed? Okay, so that one will be okay once everything's done.
Okay. And the second one is from 18117 Sandy Cove. And you have lots of documents on this one, sketches and photograph. So they want to add a pergola cover to part of the upper deck. That's the second story. And to add stairs from that upper deck to the ground level deck. All this is on the canal side, the back side. And also to add a railing type fence along the fence line with decking. I'll talk about that in a minute. So if we could start with the pergola on the second level deck, you have a sketch. And if you look at the photograph from the front view, that will help you, I think, to understand where we're talking about. What?
No, I.
So take everything that's, in color here, that's the parts of the, you know.
Correct. Correct. The deck cover, the pergola is to the right as you look from the dock. And it covers a 10 by 15 area. They will be using 8 by 8-inch support posts. It'll be 9 feet tall. And then the beams across will be 2 by 12. The wood to be used is cedar, and it will be painted Bal Harbour gray. You can see in your sketch. Do you have it?
It was on the wrong, it was in the wrong packet.
You wanna look at mine?
I got it. Thank you.
So the front beam on the pergola has a little bit of a slant to it, you see? And it's very much like the person that lives 2 doors to the right. Okay. Do you have questions about that part? No? Okay. Now the stairway, we had to go over there and really study this, and we're talking on the phone with the homeowner at the time. The stairs will come from the second level deck. Look at your picture, the photograph, and it's right in the middle. They want to build a 3-foot landing that will be supported by the posts that are marked in red. That'll be 6 by 6-inch posts, and those will be sunk into the ground with concrete. That landing will be 3 by 3 feet. And the stairs will go to the left. See the drawing with the red? So the owner is stepping onto a landing and then going to the left. And at the bottom, there will be another 3-foot by 3-foot landing around that post that's existing onto the lower deck, which is already complete. So the railing on these stairs will be just like the deck railings that are in the neighborhood, like many of us have, the 4 feet wood, 2 by 2-inch spindles, and painted Bal Harbour gray. And that's for the stair railing.
Good.
Questions?
So, yes,
Thank you.
hey, at the bottom, there's something called 4-foot gray line.
Right.
Is there like a grass? It's hard to tell what this 2-dimensional, is that like a grass, is it out in front of the grass area, in front of the?
Yes.
Is that the way that's cut out?
Is the other picture there? Yeah. I sent a side view too, so you can see. Yeah, what it is the last part of their request, what they're talking about is a deck railing 4 feet high with 4 by 4-inch posts, 2 by 2-inch spindles and rails, just like a deck railing, but they want to put it on their fence line, their property line, extending from the existing deck on the ground out to the dock on both sides and across the front with that same railing that'll be on the stairway.
That's,
Mm-hmm. And when we went to look at this, at first, it was kind of questionable, but on Sandy Cove especially, there are many, many, many decks that are built right out to the walkway,
Mhm.
like a solid wall. And there's many decks that have the same railing. And in fact, there's one at the end of this same building that has more or less a perimeter fence. And I think in this case, and Ernie and I agreed that it would be recommended approval for all three if it's completed like this, because the questionable part was the fencing, but it's not a fence, it's like a deck railing.
Okay.
And in view of the neighbors and the other decking, we thought it would be compatible. Do you want to add something?
No, it's just spindles, thing, and it won't block anybody's view.
No.
Does anybody else have that along the?
There's lots of the railings that are like that. There's one at the opposite end of that same building that has it coming in the yard down to a planter that's along the dock.
Okay.
As far as like a fenced in yard, no,
Okay.
but
That's another thing, it's only like 40 inches high or something like that.
mhm.
Not a,
If you look at your side view, you'll be able to see there's not that much distance from the bottom ground level deck down to the dock. Would you think that is, Ernie? 10?
could be.
But there's no stairs there right now. They're gonna build stairs.
No, they have center stairs right now in that picture. Yes. If you look at the picture front on, you can see the stairs existing are in the middle.
This is their stairs in that side view.
Right.
But these side ones, I mean, I would wonder about support, if I'm seeing this correctly, the support. You need an engineer or somebody to say, yes, this is
What support are you talking about?
in the part you have in red. Are these columns still,
Well,
is that? You've got the
a lot of
stairs.
the people here in the neighborhood have the 8x8
Okay, this is.
and the 6x6.
You measure those others, right?
Yeah.
6 by 6 are almost overkill, but
Okay.
you could get by with 3 by 6 or something like that.
Okay, I just worry about it just falling apart. What anchors it?
Well, it's concrete, so it's gonna go into the ground.
Right.
Concrete.
And the middle doesn't need any support. Where the 6x6 post, and then to the left of that where the stairs go down, there's no support.
The area from where it's going to the bottom post is not that far. And it's true, this isn't an architectural structural drawing, so.
Does anybody else have questions about this?
Yeah, so I just was curious, how many other houses have this combination of vertical spindle railings and the horizontal pipe railing on the building? Is this fairly common over there? Is this-
There's a few on the decks where the lower deck has the wood railing and the upper is the metal.
And have they talked to their neighbors to be sure the neighbors are okay with this configuration? So they're, okay, so,
They said they had.
okay. Any other questions from anybody? So as long as the neighbors are okay with it, I'm, not really convinced I would want to do that change in railing, but it's not my house. And if everybody's okay with it.
Okay, any other questions? Would you like to make a motion? Is there a second? Everybody in favor? Opposed? Okay. So, okay, so, Kay, you mentioned that Ernie has joined you on the committee. Would you like to have someone else on the committee? We're, we are. Kay has been the head of the architectural committee for quite a long time, and she has done a really good job of it. She would like to have another person join the committee so that they have 3 people on the committee. Anybody who's interested, you can let Joy know, or Brandy, or you can let Kay know. Thank you. The other thing that we talked about at the last meeting was window frame colors. We talked about that because some window frames are white and some are bronze. And that has come up a couple of times, whether that's acceptable or not. That's another thing that we need to look at and try and make a definitive answer on, because it gets to be confusing every time. So, Kay, did you want to try and address that, or do you want an Yes, it will require a change in the guidelines. Have you discovered some other ones that you think need to be changed? Okay, then we'll go through that together and look at that and try and do all of it at one time. Okay, thank you. Mark?
Can we swing that down here? I not reach. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay, I think that you're supposed to be able to hear a little better now, because we got that speaker. If you've noticed, it's turned, it's in the back and the middle facing this way and more toward the back. So hopefully the acoustics gets a little better in these presentations going forward, but you're more than welcome to, if you want to have some comments later after the meeting about the setup, just let us know. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so for this is the month of August, and I think everybody's pretty familiar now with the setup, the arrangement of how I do these slides, the month update. This is August again. This is not September, so just keep that in mind. We're back plus 1 month, and year to date, and then I'll talk about the budget following these updates on the reserves, cash balances, et cetera. So for the month of August, we had a favorable variance on income, negative variance on our expenses. This was driven almost entirely from contract labor, higher contract labor. That's really involving cleanup expenses following Beryl, and then legal fees. Legal fees have been running higher this year than they have in previous years. The net for the month of August was unfavorable, $8,000 to our budget. Capital expenditures, we paid in the month of August, $70,000 to Payne Brothers for their progress payment. I know Fred's going to talk more about them later as far as what's due now that they're, I think, officially complete. And then if you look here, I had to stuff in, there's a lot going on here. I get that table. This is an update of, in the month of August, we deposited an additional $408,000 for bulkhead or bulkhead assessment, which gets us up to, as of August, little over $555,000. However, I will tell you just early heads up, we're already, I think, more in the 750 range as of probably this month. So we're getting close to being fully collected out. So that's good. That's a really good, that's good news. And then the grant monies, we've spent, that was in August, 36,711. We've only received 8281. I think we've actually finally got paid. How much did we get paid? Okay. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Okay. So that's the month of August. Next year to date. Year to date, again, same structure. We've been very favorable this year on income. I've talked about this over and over again in terms of how well slip rentals have been above our what our forecast or original budget was, and other fees and CD interest, et cetera, has been very favorable to our budget this year. And the negative variance is mostly in the contract labor. As far as these are just the highest priority impacts, but contract labor and then marina maintenance. The net of those two year to date, the budget's still fairly flat. Capital expenditures total to date and this is again, when I say to date, it's August, 148 on a budget of 332, which would have been, I think we had most everything in the budget spent out by this month, but not sure. So we are running favorable on what we had planned, but that's only because we deferred work to take care of our emergency bulkhead activity. So that's the month and year to date update. Brandy, the next slide, please. Reserves. Reserves are continue to be above last year, October, literally at this time. But this is as of August. So it's 106,000 higher than a year ago, total reserves. But most of this is coming from the capital increases in the capital reserves, which again, as I said earlier, is just really mostly deferred capital. Next slide. Next slide, please. Now, I've redid this a little bit based on some feedback. If you recall last month, this bar on the end, which is total cash reserves, what was, like way up there because we're getting these massive deposits from assessments, which that number, I will just tell you, if you take these two together, this now is the assessments. I just separated that into a separate column on the end. So this will look more consistent with year over year comparisons. But the assessments, total cash deposits are 1.236 million. But here, if you take out the 555 that we've accumulated as of August, this number is 680, a little over 680,000. So that's what's changed here. But again, the thing to look at here is, year over year, the growth and in the total cash deposits, cash accounts deposits. Okay, next. Okay, so we're going to start jumping over a little bit into the budget, and the first news is what you should already know, I hope, is that we have an upcoming change to the fees, our maintenance fees, assessment fees but they're going up by the prescribed amount that's in our conditions and restrictions. As stated there, the formula is just a CPI formula that is backdated to October 2023, but it's a running index from the base year, and then the current index, this index divided by 99 gets you to your new rate. That actually is a little over 3% change. It's not a lot, but it is a change, and you will see that in the November statements, Joy. November statements. November 1st. Okay. So just a heads up on that. Last year, if you recall, we had a very large, I was not sitting here, I was sitting there, a debate on presentation. There was a presentation on increases to the maintenance fee. And we've been a year since then. So you might say, well, did it just go away? No, it has not gone away. The issue that we have has not gone away. What we're right now trying to do is, next slide, Randy. So I'm kind of thinking of this as, budget neutral, budget surplus. So in other words, the concept is we're not going to spend on our capital plan right now until we get a better plan going forward in terms of our revenue or the services that we provide stay within our means with the budget that we have. So the dollars we throw off from after op expenses, what I call op income, those fund our capital plan for this year. So from that strategy, what you should see year over year, this year, next year, is a relatively flat balance in the capital reserve account. And the reason I say that very clearly is because that capital balance, that reserve account is not big enough. It's small for what I think we should have. So we've got to start thinking about how do we move that needle up and grow that long term, recognizing that we have, in fact, a lot of challenges in terms of the expenses we need to put in the community on roofs and painting, siding, et cetera. So that's the strategy in terms of the budget. It's to, stay within our means for the year, only build what we can afford and prioritize what we build on the highest and best use of our capital. So that's the plan. As any budget cycle now and going forward, we'll continue to always look for O&M opportunities to reduce cost, recognizing that there are some things that are really eating our lunch, specifically insurance. Look at the longer range forecast and evaluate, as I was just saying, longer term needs for how we effectively increase our operating income and be able to build a more satisfactory capital reserve. I think a capital reserve, just in my view, should be double what we currently have. But first things first, let's stabilize what we have. Let's get a plan going, and then let's figure out how to raise that to what we need to long term. Long range forecast. Okay, I just covered that. So next slide, Brandy. So on income for the budget this year, the forecast, the budget plan is for the 2025, 1.537464 million. That is a 5% growth rate year over year from a budget perspective, but it is not from a forecast perspective. We're already halfway there from a forecast perspective. So it's a net 2%, a little over 2% change income wise. So I think that's a pretty good assumption right now, unless someone can tell me where there's higher growth at. I don't really see it right now, but right now we've got a 5% change budget year, year to year. And that to me looks like it's probably, again, recognizing where our forecast is at today, a pretty good estimate. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to cover operating expenses, the changes in each of those. Total salaries and wages are down significantly. Now, what's in total salaries and wages are our salaries and hourly wages, as well as health care insurance and other employee-related expenses. And we have a significant favorable variance there. Two things, really, the driver. With the change of staff, the lower compensation requirements with the recent changes in staffing is one part of that. The second part of that, that's just as large of that, is the insurance, health insurance. So we changed the plan we have, and I give Joy a lot of credit here. We've switched to a HMO health plan, and that price is literally, it's like half. So health insurance is half of what it was before. So it's a big win. I think that from an employee perspective, everybody seems to be okay with the plan that is presented. So that is a very big plus. The net effect, again, when you bring all those together year over year, the reduction's quite significant, over $60,000 change favorable to association. Next, the really the biggest change, other than some of these other issues, is that for all the hard work we do here, insurance just kills us. And I think this is an estimate from our agents, a budget estimate. We don't have a hard bid yet. We haven't bid the renewals on our insurance, most of the insurance. That's
just the estimate of,
that's-
we don't have an insurance for profit.
So it could be, to that point, it could be higher. I'm not sure it'd be lower, but right now that's what we think. And so that's our best shot at it. But again, the thing I want to just point out is this is a tough problem for Bal Harbour, and it's something that we'll still be looking or faced with, not this year, but the year after that and the year after that and onward. And so we've got some ideals on that, but for this budget, we expect an increase. Professional fees are going to be budgeted up higher. This is mostly legal expenses, phone, internet, utilities are higher, but this is water. Water has been expensive as compared to what we budgeted in 2024. Okay, and so just before I stop, the net improvement on ops expenses is favorable, even with the offset on insurance, 11, about 12,000 favorable. Next slide. Okay, maintenance expenses. The marina and these are essentially a little higher, but that's not really where our increase is at. Our increase here in homeowner maintenance is in the contract labor side. And this is an area we've got to get a better, in my view, a better handle on as far as the drivers of what, of the makeup of what this kind of work is. And actually the numbers right now is a lot higher in the forecast, but a lot of that's storm cleanup. If you net that back out, we still see just a constant upward pressure on our contract labor. And so this is, again, something that we need to do a lot more, in my view, a lot more work on as far as, do we have better options here, or are these costs, if we really start knowing the absolute drivers of our increases, are these things we need to keep doing? You know, that sort of thing. Those are the sort of questions we really need to start asking when we start seeing, you know, a big change in labor. Now, you know, admittedly, we have some offset on the, you know, on the hourly wages and whatnot, but here still, I think there's a lot more, you know, in my view, that we need to be looking at. I think when we get into the dissecting in the future work orders and controlling dispatching labor work into the community, we start seeing exactly what that costs per, you know, per activity, and we can start doing a better job of deciding, you know, can we rationalize this, or do we need to, you know, maybe do something different down the road. Anyway, the net effect, 34,000 to the budget year over year. That's a 9% change in maintenance. So altogether, next slide. Altogether, O&M budget, I look at things in groups, operations, maintenance, because, and I personally like to manage our budget that way. I don't like it as a one number goal. The net change when you add all these things together is a $22,000 increase year over year, relatively flat. It's 2% change in the O&M budget, 24 to 2025. Okay, next slide. Capital. So as you heard me talk about here earlier, we fund out of the dollars after, and I call it op income, the dollars we have after expenses funds our capital plan. Otherwise, if it doesn't fund the capital plan, then we're just drawing from the well that I already explained isn't the deepest well that you'd like to have. So staying within our means that our capital needs to be prioritized to its highest and best uses of, you know, the common major expense items. On the biggest change in our plan year over year, last year we had $120,000 in the 2024 budget. We didn't spend any of this money. This here was sailboat and starboard, some buildings, 4 buildings there. And because of the emergency repairs on the bulkheads and the expenses on the walkway, all that stuff, we had to hold off to get this so we could make sure we could fund it with our budget. But the reality is that didn't go away. So if you look at 2024, because we have since funded with assessment funds, our bulkhead activities, this allows us to use our available funds to go back and tackle our highest, what I think is our highest and best needs right now. The roofs, these are by age, and these roofs, year over year. This year, I'm proposing a $223,000 budget for, which is pretty much about everything we can afford in light of a couple of the things. But this takes care of all the starboard and sailboat properties. It also, the next set of roofs are on Sandy Cove in terms of age, priority. And so we start getting into tackling those. I think the starboard sailboat are circa 2001 roofs, so they're over 20 years old. And then I think these are 2004. So we're at the period where we've got to start knocking all these out. So that's the plan here. There's a little bit of boardwalk, but this is only for walkways next year. And then coming back and trying to address, we need to resurface our tennis courts. And I'm trying to spread those out over like a 4-year period where we can, try to 4 or 5-year period, try to make sure we can go an annual sequence of replacing the surfaces on those tennis courts, at least get that started. And then the last thing, which is my big X factor for the budget, longer term, is us painting and siding. It's probably the one area that I'm not sure our information is as good as it needs to be right now. It needs to get better as far as the real condition of siding throughout the community. This is prioritized based on a field report I got literally last week. And this is Lighthouse Drive, where apparently there's holes and things and siding. And when we have that situation, that means we probably, need to find a way to get that siding replaced. And then there's painting that goes with it. So that's the plan. But I will tell you, painting and siding is really, after bulkheads, the largest capital expenditure we have. A lot of people think, well, it must be roofs. Now, roofs actually are close. They're like a close third, but painting and siding. Now, you might say, well, why is that? And are we sure? And we have historically, the way we've historically painted buildings in a sequence as a whole and complete building, in my view, may or may not be the best way in the future to, to tackle painting. So I'm not convinced that that's the, that capital that, we've planned long-term is maybe high or low yet. But what I do know is for next year, this budget cycle, I know we have to address this building here. So if you see at the bottom, 382,000, that pretty much nets us neutral, slightly plus in terms of the budget. So with that, on the last slide, the recommendation is going to be on the next slide. Randy, if you could make it move. Yeah. We talked about the budget for 2025, all those three things I just talked about, maintenance, operations, capital, 1.530, 564 would be this year's budget recommendation for the board. And with that, I think that's my last, wait, I think I got another slide there. Oh, one more back. And get one more back. And should be just yeah, there we go. Okay. Finance. So I had a 5, I have a 5 and a 10 and a 15 and a 20-year forecast, but it obviously keeps changing every time I get new data on the capital requirements, or inspections out in the community. So I'll update that again, and then we'll talk more about that in the next meeting. The other thing, I think I had something back previously on the Welby savings account, but that's low yielding, but we're still checking. That's not resolved yet, but until we find something better, then I'll report out on that. And that's it.
Capital budget, the expenses allocated with the bulkhead is going to be repaired. The walkways and moving Bal Harbour College, is that in this budget or is that in the capital budget?
Okay, the walkways for that'll go with the new bulkhead?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in this budget. That's not with the assessment. The assessment was just the bulkhead itself.
Can I include all that together so that it'll give us a little more room in reserves by including the $853,000, include all of the bulkhead expense in that, which would mean we have to cut back a little bit on how many feet we get, but we wouldn't be digging into reserves.
I hear what you're saying, but I can tell you that we have to, the scope of what we approved, you know, it had the location and the footage and all that stuff. We have to stay, you know, with that plan. We can't really take other dollars and and mix and match what was authorized specifically by the assessment, because we didn't really, now maybe we didn't include that. So we have to, but we do have to do it, obviously. We have to replace. Yeah, we'll probably do it, and we'll probably do that. That's in-house. That's assuming in-house that we build the. Well, yeah, it's the contents, the comment part, you can.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the yacht committee. What? Oh, thank you. Can I have a? Okay, is there a second? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so the budget is passed. Thank you, Joy. Okay, Matt, you want to do your?
Okay, so, let's see where we are. We had, 3 new leases and we lost 1. And we are now at 61 leased slips. And at the beginning of the year, we had 50. So that's a 20% increase in slip leases. Money-wise, we brought in 8,995, which is 125.9% of what we had budgeted. The reason the one person moved out was they sold their boat. Okay. Well, so yeah, okay, so interesting. I don't know how you mark that. Anyway, okay, so those are the numbers for that. Marina repairs, after Beryl, we have a dock. As of yesterday, it looked like we had about 50 feet more of boardwalk to the A dock. Yeah, no, C dock's got a lot more than that, I think. C dock looked to me like we're about 3/5 done, but we have electricity and water running out almost to the boat that sunk. Excuse me. And so that's where we're at with that. We had 2 bids to repair it. One was 86.5 or something, or 87,000. One of them was just a high bid, so that we had another bid. Jimmy said that we could repair it for less than the 87,000 bid, so we went ahead with that. Using the money that we got from the EDC, from NASA Bay, which we had earmarked for other things that will not get done because we use that money. This year, we didn't have any money budgeted for the marina, and Mother Nature had a different idea. Okay. I've been here about 8 years now, and every time we have a storm, the marina gets hammered, but never quite enough to make a big deal. Our deductible is 100,000, which we're paying, I think, roughly 130,000 a year, and we paid an extra 10 to bring the deductible down to 100, and it was still less than the damage done. So it's, even though we use the EDC money, it's, you know, it's still money that we didn't have. Okay. So, that's, you know, the marina. A couple other things we did. We had a we had a call for volunteers to help in the cleanup in the kayak area, and we had a big turnout of Jan, myself, and Benny Vincent. That was who showed up. Okay, and Jan can carry more than her weight. She is really strong, and we took just about everything off the racks over there. Looked at it to see whether it was seaworthy or not, and we've moved it to the side. It's going to be cut up. So, and then there's some consideration about making that rack over there smaller because there weren't that many seaworthy things. So, and those other boats will be cut up, and kind of going with the idea of getting a little bit tired of people dumping their wrecks in our backyard, and then we have to handle them. That's, you know, we're trying to get away with that. And in the marina, we have to address that too. So let's see, that's everything except for harbor master. We haven't had a harbor master for now. I think it's like 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks. So we're saving a little bit of money there. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do with the harbor master, because we have to find somebody who's somewhat qualified but not overqualified, and we had the duties all figured out, but we still don't have anybody hired there. I've been going down there on the weekends to check things out and make sure things aren't happening that shouldn't be happening as best we can, but that's what is happening with the harbor master. And that's pretty much my report.
Thank you, Matt. It was really fun doing the small boats. We had a good time with that. And he got stung 4 times, and we had 1 or 2 rodents running around, but it was not a big deal. Okay, the next thing is Brenda,
I have no request.
and you have no request, but you had bees.
I didn't want to tell people about the poor bees. There's a tree out in the driveway by the mailbox, and it was reported that there was a nest of bees in a hollow part of the tree. And so people's concern is that somebody was going to get stung that was allergic. And I called 5 or 6 bee organizations and beekeepers, and finally one person answered the call and came and removed the bees. He waited till it was dark, and they go to sleep at night, and he took a vacuumed them out and took them somewhere. The problem with this is that this tree, the hollow that they were in, it was holding water. And so it has rotted the branch to the left. We think significantly that we have a person that takes down trees for us, and he's going to come and look at it and see if we can save the tree. Um, Most people are saying we just need to take it out, get rid of it. So that's still in limbo. I am a tree hugger, so I want to hear one more person say, let's take the tree out. And then hopefully we will plant a tree in between the driveway and Windemere that's going to be a quality tree. We can't get a very big tree because of our money problems, but it can grow, and eventually the ginkgo that is in front of here is very old. And when the ginkgo goes, then the new tree will have lots of room to grow and become part of the landscaping.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for taking care of the bees. That was really exciting. Okay, the next thing that we have, I wanted to just add to what Brenda was saying, just as an aside, the City of Nassau Bay is doing the fall flowers, and they have offered flowers for Bal Harbour to plant. The day that the planting will take place will be November 2nd, and we'll be picking up flowers. It won't be the big thing like we have in the spring. It will be filling in areas, but anybody who wants to help will be more than welcome. We'll pick up the flowers and bring them here and probably bring some mulch and stuff to work with. But we'll let you know more about that when it happens. April, did you have anything about that? Okay. Okay. The next thing is the tennis courts. And I don't really know that much about the tennis courts. Mark talked about the surfacing, that I understand. But as far as the membership goes, I've got some information about that. For the month of September, there were 22 total number of paying members. There were no new members. They had 2 members who quit. The total member income for the month of September was $2,900, and budgeted was $2,900. So that came out even. As I mentioned earlier, Grace is not with us anymore, so we'll need to figure out what her job was and then look to find someone to fill in that spot. Okay, Fred?
Okay, thanks, Jan. So we'll get back to everybody's favorite topic, bulkheads. So I think there's a couple of figures in the presentation. If we can go one more slide, please, Brandy. Let's see what Mark has for us here. Okay, one more. Oh, there we go. Okay, so unbelievably, okay, I'm sorry. Good news. Good news. The Payne brothers have finished the emergency repair. They finished the structural aspects of it Friday, and Jimmy Beasley and I inspected it before he left on his vacation. So structurally, they'd finished the tiebacks, the wall, the pilings, et cetera. And then they came back today and finished putting the fill in it. So this picture, I believe, was from Friday when they had finished the structure but hadn't quite finished the fill. The next picture on the next page, okay, well, that's done at the far end where we finally got grass on it. So, but they have finished the fill also. I'm not sure I have a good picture of that in here. So where the grass is looks amazingly good. And in general, they've done an outstanding job with the bulkhead installation. We've been very pleased with it, although it has been quite a process. Can we go on to the next picture, please? Okay, so now Raouf had planned this assessment scope of the work to be in 5 phases. And so I want to be sure and give him credit for doing this. And I'm going to try to explain the 5 different phases before we go any further. So of course, we're looking at the overhead view of the canal system and the houses. And the table on the left is the 5 different phases. I'm sorry if you won't be able to read it, but phase 1 is the canal entrance. So it's 250 feet long on the east side of the canal entrance. Phase 2 and 3 is back out in the lake on the east end of the property. And so each of these phases is less than 500 feet in length. And that's to make it easier to do the permitting with the city. And also it's to control the risk. So as you know, this is an expensive project. And the contract is written so that it's in these 5 phases. Each phase is actually smaller and less expensive than what we just did for the emergency repair. So even though it's a bigger project, it's broken up into 5 small sections. And if for some reason we had a problem with the contractor, we can stop after any one of these phases if that were to become an issue. I don't expect that to happen, but we do have that option. So once we get the phase 1, 2, and 3 done, they're in the critical areas. Phases 3, 4, and 5 are back here in the canal system. I can't really even tell for sure which one is 3 and which is 4 and 5, but the one on the top of the figure along Bal Harbour Drive was added after I took pictures. Before I joined the board, I was a volunteer with Ralph and Casey. We were concerned about the bulkhead, and I went out at low tide, took pictures of that section, and once Ralph saw them, he added them to this to the assessment work. A lot of the timber in that section is in bad shape also. So what I was trying to say, and I think I've said it several times now, is that each of these sections is shorter than what we just did, and each is less expensive, thank goodness. So let's go on to the next figure. Let's go on. Okay, so before we get to that part, I did want to explain a couple of things. The contract that we're working with is derived from the contract that we used for the emergency repair. However, it has some modifications to go into the 5 different phases, and it has been through the attorney. We've incorporated some minor suggestions that they had in it. And we do have some questions from some homeowners that I thought I would try to explain while we're talking about this. The first one is a very good question. Do we have stamped engineering drawings for this project? If not, why not? Well, unfortunately, the answer is no. The original drawings from the 1970s would have shown the layout of the property and presumably details of the bulkhead. So Casey Ewing told me that he was hired after Hurricane Alicia to restore the property, and he used those drawings to do so. And he said they were destroyed after Hurricane Ike. Everything was stored in the ground floor over here in the next building, and the harbor master lived upstairs. And so after Hurricane Ike, that was switched so that all the records are upstairs. So we don't have the original drawings, unfortunately. And if anybody knows where there's a second copy, please let me know. Okay, the next question is, did you get help writing the new contract terms and specifications, or did you use the last contract? So yeah, we're basing it on the previous contract, but it has been modified for this task. What are the assurances the contractor would adhere to the timeline for completion? That's a pretty good question. They do have a lot of weather delay problems, and the way they're working, they have to bring everything in from a friend's lot down in Nassau Bay. So it is a time-consuming process going back and forth, getting materials and getting supplies. And when they're doing the remove and replacement part of it, they also have to take all the material they've removed and go down, unload it, and then reload material. It is a timely, lengthy process, unfortunately. So other than saying we'll do the best we can to stay on schedule, I really can't give you any better assurance than that. Who will be overseeing the work? Okay, well, that will be Jimmy Beasley, and then several board members, but Jimmy will be the primary person overseeing it. Is it true the canal will be narrowed by 2.5 feet? So yes, the canal entrance will be a build-in front instead of a remove and replace. And for those of you who were here last month, you saw how invasive the remove and replace is. And build in front is quicker. There's less risk to the house. You still have to pull out a sheet and put the tie rod back in through a sheet, but you don't have to create the huge ditch that they've done for the remove and replace. So we will go out into the canal. We're going to try to compensate best we can by putting the boat lifts back as close to the bulkhead as possible. I'm not sure that's really going to help. One of the boat lifts is already very close to the existing bulkhead, but not all of them are. So we might get a foot back in that process. We don't know yet. Next question is, what is the plan for coordinating all boat slips, removal and replacement? So the large boats, let's see. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so finish reading the question. Can owners get a set price to remove boat lifts and replace pilings after the work by the contractor, or will the contractor partner with the boat lift company? So the Payne brothers have said that they will remove the pilings for $150, put them back for $500. And if the homeowner wants to contract with them to remove the boat lift, the homeowner can do so, or the homeowner can hire somebody else, but that's not going to be an association activity. So removing the boat lift ahead of time is up to the homeowner to figure out a contractor to help them do that. And then, of course, putting it back would be hopefully the same contractor. Next question. When will the canal residents and boat slip schedules be communicated to those affected by the bulkhead replacement? So they told me today that they plan to be back in 6 months. And so now that we know that, and they were reasonably confident. So 6 months, that's probably 7 or 8 months, but we can start working with the homeowners right away to try to figure out a plan for removing all the boat lifts in a timely manner. Moving the big boats to the marina if we need to. We'll have to measure the canal width and be sure the smaller boats can get in and out okay. The Payne brothers will be removing the barge at night, although that's probably not going to do most of you a lot of good. And then they'll remove it on the weekends, so it'll be parked out in the lake at night and on the weekends. Let's see. I think we covered that. Okay, there was a question about renumbering the slips. So yes, the association will have to go back and relabel all the boat slips that have been rebuilt when all this is over. That was all the questions that I had. Is that anything else, Jan, you wanted to answer for now? Okay, so we have been discussing with the Payne brothers their insurance requirements too. So the contract we have right now had $2 million general aggregate and $1 million for completed operations aggregate, personal advertising injuries, and occurrences for injury to individuals. So that was a combination of $2 million and $1 million, and that's pretty standard. We've been asked to consider increasing that to $5 million and $2 million, which I've asked the Payne brothers for a quote. Their broker is trying to work on a quote for them. The broker said that nobody ever asked this in their line or size of business, but they are trying to come up with a quote for us for it. So that's still something they're working on with their broker. So what I was going to suggest is that we consider keeping the insurance at $2 million and $1 million in the contract. And if the brokers come back with a reasonable cost to us and we decide that we want to consider purchasing that, then we could do a contract change order like we've done before for the previous contract. Of course, the Payne brothers have to agree to it. And if we're paying for it, I'm sure they would agree to it. But one of the issues from their standpoint is that if they increase their insurance coverage, they have to buy it for a year. And if we're into 2 of their insurance years, then they basically have to buy it for 2 years, which means we have to pay for it for 2 years. So that'll be a factor when we finally get the quote. So what I'm suggesting is we go ahead and and consider keeping the contract at 2 million and 1 million. And when we get the quote, if it's acceptable, we'll talk about doing a modification to the contract. Does that sound like a reasonable plan to everybody? Okay, okay, nobody's sort of getting yeses. Okay, all right. So we've all seen the contract. You've had it emailed, and we didn't really get this insurance thing kind of figured out until today, so I apologize for that. But I was hoping we could make a motion tonight to go ahead and accept the contract as it's been written, and we'll go from there. So, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move to accept the contract that we have as written, with the proviso that if we get a reasonable quote for additional insurance, that we consider that at a later date and make a change order if necessary.
Is there a second for that? I'm gonna give the microphone back to Jan.
I'll second it.
I may be out of order or wrong, I didn't put it in written there, but when they moved their barge in, they had to remove channel markers, which are not ours, they're actually belong to the board engineers. They removed those channel markers, get their barge in there. They should be putting those back, but they're not. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know, maybe there was 2 or 3, but I believe that if you don't do something about that or get an approval, you're gonna be, the Bal Harbour will be responsible for disrupting a channel, and that's not a good thing.
Okay. No, thank you, Ross. Yeah, I'll certainly take that up with them. And I had heard in an email about that, but I do need to ask them about getting those put back in.
Yeah,
I
it's
understand.
outside of our property, so that it's like, I know, they pull here up, pull the piling, you can't do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Fred. So we have a motion to approve the contract and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so that's done. Very good. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to just go through with you is because we've gone through a couple of changes as far as personnel. The board developed job descriptions for all of the staff people and also performance appraisals so that we can keep track of how people are doing. We haven't had that before, so this is all very new for us. The other things that have been developed that Joy had in the office and had been utilizing were employee benefit policies and some very straightforward things that a new person coming in could look at and see how many holidays they had, how they accrued vacation, that kind of thing. So that was very helpful. And then we also developed a handbook for employees. So we've got all of those things in place now. And hopefully we will be moving forward with any of the new things that we come up with that we think we might need to help employees work in a more efficient way. Now, all the people who have come in, Joy, Brandy, and the person who comes in and fills the position for the property maintenance supervisor will all be on 90-day probationary period. So they'll have an evaluation at 90 days, and then we'll put into place after that annual evaluations. Okay. I need to ask for a motion to postpone our special meeting from, for October the 28th that was set up to do voting for a new board position. We are going to postpone that. And it looks like we probably will not have an additional meeting. We will build that into the May annual meeting so that we will have our full complement of board members at that time. We have enough board members to conduct all the business we need to. Is everybody, can I get a motion for postponing the board meeting? The special meeting?
Trying to make a motion that we postpone.
Okay,
I know that it's the window to make a notice, so we couldn't.
okay,
we could not have- I'll second it.
okay. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Huh? You're opposed? Okay, okay. Yeah. Okay. Last meeting, I inadvertently missed the section on the agenda for homeowners' questions and comments. And so consequently, we got questions submitted from 2 homeowners in writing. Fred has addressed the ones that were specific for the bulkheads and that type of thing. I'm going to now address the ones that we got that are more primarily due to staffing. But I want to make it really clear that this was a one-time thing. We won't be taking questions from you all typed out and given to us and expecting us to answer them. Okay?
Not gonna take questions from the members? Is that what you're saying?
Not sheets of questions. Not sheets of questions. We're gonna have, we have on the agenda a place where we have comments. So you'll be able to do that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start. Can you confirm if employees are provided with 14 paid holidays per year? Employees are provided with 13 paid holidays per year. Is it accurate that employees are entitled to up to 4 weeks of vacation? If that is not accurate, how many are they allowed? Full-time employees are eligible for paid vacation time after 1 year of employment. After 1 year, 40 hours. After 2 years, 80 hours. After 5 years, 120 hours. After 10 years, 160 hours. If you want additional information about this, you can find it in the office. What is the basis for determining the vacation allowance? We believe the vacation allowance is consistent with competitive market for which Bal Harbour competes for qualified workers. This is based on precedents as well. Does Bal Harbour cover 100%, excuse me, of health insurance costs? Yes. As Mark pointed out to you during the budget discussion, we're moving from basically a PPO plan to an HMO plan, which halves that amount. How does the management team currently track vacation time taken? And that's with payroll and clock-ins. You may not know it, but they actually have a clock-in that they use, a time clock. Are employees given a specific number of sick days annually? Yes. 40 hours per year after 90-day probation. How is sick time tracked? Clock-ins and call-ins. Can you clarify if the recent manager made adjustments to salaries and bonuses for staff without specific board approval, only with oversight budget, overall budget, sorry. The annual percentage increase was included in the budget and discussed during preparations each year. The board is not aware of any previous unauthorized increases outside of what was approved in the budget by the board. In the past, Christmas bonuses were the only bonuses employees received. The last bonus was granted by the board in 2016. No bonuses are budgeted for our upcoming budget cycle. Is it correct that all management team employees work 36 hours per week? Work hour weeks are 40. Could you provide details of work hours, lunch breaks, and any half-day arrangements on Fridays? I'm going to read this to you. It's a little bit lengthy. Bal Harbour Association Employee Benefits and Policies. Full-time employees are scheduled to work 40 hours per week, Monday through Friday. Maintenance staff schedule is Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. with a lunch break from 12 to 12:45, and Friday from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. Office staff schedule is Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 5, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 12. If there is available overtime, it will be assigned by the property manager to the employee. All hours, regular and overtime, must be recorded by clocking in and out on the provided time clock. If hours are not recorded, they may not be paid at the discretion of the property manager. Is there a policy regarding the maximum amount of vacation and sick time that can be carried over from one year to the next? No sick time may be carried over. Carrying over vacation time is only with board approval going forward. The property manager has requested unused vacation time payment. It's being reviewed by the board as well as our legal counsel. In the past, was management allowed to approve payments and write checks with just the management signature? Yes. The board only required 2 signatures, one manager and a second by a board member, if the check was more than $3,000 and not a normal monthly bill. Monthly bills are paid by management that are authorized by our annual budget. Variances are reviewed by the board monthly and addressed on an ongoing basis. Do management staff use Bal Harbour credit cards? If so, is there a process in place for itemizing and approving these expenses with board oversight? Yes. Bal Harbour has Office Depot cards, Home Depot cards, Bank of America card, and Valero card. Detailed charges are reviewed monthly by management and subject to ongoing review by the board. According to the bylaws, Article 5, Section 2, the president has certain responsibilities regarding the management of the association and its staff. Is it accurate that the president can request financial information and set agenda items for board meetings? I'm not quite sure what this is referring to, but the powers of the president, which is what is stated in Article 5, Section 2, says, the president shall be in general charge of the affairs of the association in the ordinary conduct of its business and shall preside at all regular meetings of the board of directors. The president may enter into any contract or execute and deliver any instrument as it is authorized and or controlled by the board of directors and provided in Article 7, Section 1 through 4. Okay. Let me find my starting place. Just a minute. Thank you. Okay. So now we're going to open the floor to general comments. Not anything longer than 2 minutes and not questions. Please use the microphone, come up to the microphone and use it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patrice Florio. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. My name is Patrice Florio. I live in Bal Harbour since 2006. My exact address is 18140 Bal Harbour. I'm here because my neighbor, Catherine Musgrove, on 18142 Bal Harbour, built a fence on our back deck. When I bought this place, the back deck was for both of the unit to enjoy. At the time, some owner had a dog and they wanted to put a fence. I say, that's okay. I don't really like the idea of the fence, but if you put it on the side of your property, I'm fine with it. That fence was blown up in the beginning of the year because of a storm, and my new neighbor, Catherine, decided to rebuild it. From the start, I told her I was not in favor with that fence, but she could do it if she would do it at the exact same location. By May, I saw on my deck the frame for the new fence, and it was not where it was originally. It was exactly in the middle and encroaching on my property. Immediately, I got in touch with her and with the contractor and say, you know, that I am not okay with that. And I took a picture and I saw the fence was here and you are putting it here. It's not right. I know I have only 2 minutes.
You have 5 seconds left.
Oh my God. So at the time, so in May, she said, okay, I'm gonna get in touch with you guys, which never happened. And in August, she did build the fence where it was not supposed to be. So I'm pleased asking the board to tell her to remove the fence. Also, that fence, the picket of the fence are not vertical, that is supposed to be in Bal Harbour, they are horizontal. So please I would like you to intervene and ask her to remove that. Thank you.
You.
Can everyone hear me fine? We'll be on Zoom.
Oh, sir, on Zoom, yeah.
All right.
we can hear.
My name is Ross Houston. I'm at 2716 Lighthouse Drive. Start my timer. I won't use it all. I guarantee you that. I just want to, what I started to say back there, and I do protest this a little bit, is the whole idea of limiting us to 2 minutes of discussion does not give a full, it's very difficult in some situations. And it's very difficult that we are not allowed to submit any written questions. I mean, the purpose of the board is to answer the questions. And if you have to, if your whole life is around 2 minutes, it's really it's not right. Maybe the board should consider some other way that we could get together, informal or whatever. I mean, it's easy for me because I just go over to Fred and tell him, Fred, I don't like this. And then we can talk for 30 minutes. But not everyone has a relationship there. And I think we should try and keep that relationship. So maybe an informal.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
You did
Thank
great.
you. You don't have to call me sir.
Don't let Terry think,
Everybody
sorry.
calls me. Anyway, thank you.
Steve Woods, 18505 Sandy Cove. Did you say we're not allowed to ask questions?
Right.
No questions?
No questions, comments.
2 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Well. Okay, I guess I can't ask us if there's liveaboards living on boats, and I guess I can't ask how much we spent so far on boardwalks, grass, dirt for the 200 feet or 300 feet we've already done of the boardwalk, so we can budget moving forward. So, thank you guys.
You don't have to answer my questions because they weren't questions.
Anybody else? I have just one more thing, I think. The 1st of October was National Night Out, and we had a really excellent turnout. I want to thank the people on the social committee. April, Angie's not here. Janice, Terry is not here. Oh, and Greg. We had an excellent turnout, and it was quite interesting to talk with the first responders that came by. And we actually made first place as far as the first responders. They came here first instead of going to the other 15 places they had to go to. So it was quite good. And they filled up on the food. I want to thank everybody for that. I don't know how many of you all are aware of the swing slide setup that's out just this side of the street, but it's in a little bit bad condition, and I'm trying to get feedback from people on how we can improve it. So if anybody has any suggestions, just let someone on the board know we're in the office. Okay? I'm going to move that we adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Don't want to do the gavel. You do the gavel. Thank you.
Thank you. So.